quality of leadership needs to be addressed. And we need to raise the bar from the minimum standard.
This is Judiciary Today. As our colleagues continue to pour in for the emergence of Muhammadu Buhari as president-elect, so are high expectations from Nigerians. Among many requested petitions for the incoming government are the timely passage of the appropriation bill and well-informed policies with a view to relaunching the country to an enviable position as the leader of Africa. Today on the program, we'll take a look at the government policies and what may likely inform some of the expected changes in the next 4 years. I'm Frank Omalape, and this is Judiciary Today.
Joining us on the show now is Barrister Jiti, legal practitioner and an activist. Thank you for being here. Let's start this way. How would you assess government in the last 4 years, especially in terms of policies and what they have done so far? And looking forward, what are the political connotations that will likely shape or influence government policies in the next 4 years?
We've had the People Democratic Party control government center in the last 4 years, from 2011 till now, and that tenure effectively will end on May 28th this year. That government came to power trumpeting a transformation agenda. And I'm not going to engage in the semantics of what we mean by transformation. Transformation means that from one form, there emerges another form. That's what transformation is. And the question to pose is, okay, in the last 4 years, what has been transformed in our lives? Has the economy been transformed? Has our infrastructure been transformed? Has our education been transformed? Has our healthcare delivery system been transformed? Has our justice delivery system been transformed? Has our policing been transformed? Has our security as a country been transformed? In other words, how many of our people are dying 4 years ago unnecessarily due to no fault of theirs? And how many of our compatriots are dying now? In terms of our values and orientation, have we been transformed? In terms of political ethics, even our electoral system, have we been transformed? You can be asking those questions one after the other. When you then look at policies that were unfolded by the administration upon attaining power, within the rubric of their so-called transformation agenda, you find out that those policies weren't well thought through. Those policies weren't capable of delivering transformation which they promised. Those policies were indeed, even if you want to be very charitable, still avenues for corrupt enrichment, and that those policies invariably had to fail. What was the policy of government on transportation? What the federal government talked about transformation was that, one, they are going to build more roads. And in the election, they then alleged that they have built 5,000 kilometers of road. On rail transportation, they said they were going to rehabilitate the railways, coaches, and all that. Let me just dilate here. before proceeding further on aspects of transportation.
All right.
On rail, mind you that we're starting from what was promised, transformation. What did we have in the rail sector? What we had basically was that government claimed it was rehabilitating the Lugadian rail tracks. And I'm using my words advisedly. Lord Lugard was the one who amalgamated Nigeria
Exactly.
for the British Crown. And they started laying rail tracks. Now, these are the tracks government claimed it was rehabilitating and bringing 19th century coaches from China, from everywhere. So for me, if you ask me, in terms of policy, was there a transformation? No. Let's go back to road.
Okay, just before you go to road, let me ask some of the few examples you cited in the transport sector, and to also look at rail particularly. These policies that have failed, just like you put it, will you attribute it to the fact that the government lacked willpower, or it is because it was built on what you call old paradigm?
It is not about willpower alone. It is fundamentally about the ability of government, or those who are going to government, to have a vision. I'm not in government, but I have a vision for government. So those who are going to go into government are supposed to have a supervision for government, so to speak. But most often we realize that rather than even have any vision at all, they are visionless. They get to government and start asking allies and people to bring proposals and suggestions as if they are blank when they are going to government. Look, government is a serious business. I guess that every Nigerian has a sense of what government should do, whether in power sector, in transportation sector, in healthcare delivery sector, in school management, everything. We have a sense. But when you have a situation whereby a president, towards the tail end of his administration, twice had to confess that most often is confused by advisors. It is a very serious self-indictment. It is not naivety, it's not knowing how to put it, that a president should say, you know, I have several advisors. One will say go to the left, one will say go in the pedestrian manner though. One will say go to the right, one will say stay at the center, and you will get confused. When the president is making that confession, somebody who is at the head of affairs, somebody who occupies the executive branch of the federal government in a presidential system of government, where the executive branch is the driver of everything. It's not even parliamentary system of government that we are practicing. Making that confession. So you know it's not about willpower. It's fundamentally a knowledge issue.
But a lot of people will look at most political parties that we have in Nigeria, that they have similar manifestos, and that again is another problem. Looking at, you talk about transformation, APC also, who is the major opposition that won this election, is also talking about change in terms of creating jobs and all of that. They put them side by side. Do you think we might really get informed government policies that will bring a change in the economy?
I'm familiar with the manifesto of these two leading political parties, but I must confess to you that the APC is a little bit innovative. What are these innovations? In the United States, feeding school children, providing meals for them, ensuring that they don't get bloated, using meal to ensure that you don't have sugar children that will be bloated and all that, was something that Ms. Obama was talking about, very fondly. And I'm telling you that apart from Osun State, in Nigeria as of today that has experimented with feeding school children and has done so sustainably in the last 3 to 4 years. No state in Nigeria has ever attempted to do it. Now, that party is saying, we want to do it. And because they put it out very clearly, I don't expect them to fail Nigeria on that score.
All right.
That's an innovation. And it's not just about feeding the hungry. It's about also stimulating the local economy. Agro-business will be on the increase. I learned, for example, that in Ogun State, because of the 1 meal per child, that to even get enough poultry products, including eggs, to feed the children within the state is difficult. So contiguous states are now supplying eggs to those who prepare the meals in Ogun State. That stimulates the local economy. And so you can have the ripple effect like that across the board.
All right.
And I'm just using that as an example. So that's an innovation. Again, the party is saying they want to create jobs. PDP also says that creating jobs. But the APC is saying we want to give people benefits. No matter how inconsequential the amount being promised is, that's also innovative. That will be the first time we have something like that. Now, it is too early to see whether the APC will be able to deliver on these promises. And whether this delivery, even if APC were able to deliver, will be strong enough to convince Nigerians that this is the kind of change we're talking about. Because we're talking about fundamental changes. We want Nigeria to be transformed from a consumerist economy to a productive economy.
Let's look at what do you think might be the biggest challenge for the incoming government in terms of policies, because you cited example of some of the policies in the past government led by PDP were really on old paradigm. What do you think might be the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge in terms of policy, first, we need to understand that government is a continuum, right? And there are policies that have to be reviewed. There are those, after that review, that have to be abandoned, scrapped. There are those that have to be adjusted. And there are those that have to be modified and all that for better policy change. Now, that said, the biggest challenge this government will face is in terms of policy adjustment, policy abandonment, policy initiation, is that there will be some resistance by the beneficiaries of those policies, not amongst the masses of the people, but certain beneficiaries. I'll give you an example. President Goodluck Jonathan created 12 universities. I wonder whether we needed 12 universities. I wonder whether we even needed university at all. What the political class, what this government has tried to do to education by atomizing tertiary education system is what the political class has done to Nigeria by creating multiplicity of states, many of whom cannot survive on their own now. You can expand the admission capacity of the university. If I can take 200,000, you can take 200,000, you can take more. They can have other southern campuses and all that, and you won't replicate management of this university and create side chaos.
So what you're saying
You
is
need
that
to have
the
12 vice chancellor, for example.
incoming
So if
government-
the incoming government were to say,
Okay.
we want to scrap it, Otueke committee will say, because our man is no longer the president, what we had, we now want to take it away.
all right.
Some of those, so those are the kind of resistance you're going to see. Whereas, in terms of policy abandonment, that's the kind of thing that they need to scrap and abandon, because it's going to create more problems than we tend to solve. At the end of the day, what you do is that you just create bureaucracies and more cost of running things and government. Why do we need to have 12 vice chancellors? Why do we need to have 12 senates? Why do we need to have 12 governing councils? And all of them will be running to those universities to be taking money. This is the kind of crazy thing that I see. And I say, it is not just about the willpower. It is about not having knowledge of what government business is in the final analysis.
Barrister Jiti, I think we need to take a break at this point. We'll come back and discuss more on the program. It's still Judiciary today. Don't go away. We have to have you back now. It's still Judiciary today, and my guest has been Barrister Jiti Ogunye, a legal practitioner and an activist. Thank you for joining me still. But let's take a look at these. Some analysts have noted that Muhammad Buhari's win is a reformist policies. Do you think that he might be able to do it, looking at the fact that he's not the only one that is going to be in office?
I know that government is not a one-man show. I know that as he himself has remarked, he's no longer a military dictator who can say, do this, and everybody will fall in line. He is now a Democrat that is going to work in a democratic environment. And things are slower in that kind of environment. And so timelines will not be met. But because he's generally regarded as a person of integrity, and because he must be keenly aware that although certain political forces have to merge to be able to defeat the PDP, with that consciousness, he will be willing to drive reforms and get things done. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hopeful, as I said earlier, that we will be able to do it. And he's coming to power not as Jonathan came to power. Let's face it. Not as Yar'Adua came to power. Not as Obasanjo came to power. Obasanjo came to power as a product of the military class who was departing or retreating from the power. A military class that was populated largely by northern power hegemons who, after some conspiracies that finished with Abacha and Abiola, felt that he should be the person to be in power. In other words, even before the election, it was done and dusted. It was a fait accompli that this man will be the person we are going to give power to. So it was not a qualitative transition. It was a guided transition. They wanted Obasanjo badly, and Obasanjo wanted power. And so there was a balanced equation, and he came to power as a compromise president. When he was leaving power, he literally foisted Yar'Adua on Nigeria. So the game has changed. Indeed, that class never wanted, well, they wouldn't have wanted a day like this to come. What has tilted the scale of power balance is that Buhari has the ordinary people rooting for him. And so, bolstered and strengthened by that support, he can push through reforms and ram it down the throats of the Nigerian political elites who may be antagonistic to reforms. So, if he has the will, he has the support, and he has the power. He has no excuse not to push through reforms, political, economic, social reforms. Nobody's going to expect him to say that, okay, soldiers are whipping people on the street, force them into lines. No, that's not the kind of reform that we're talking about. It's not even going to happen. If he decided on the military, this time around, is to reform the military itself and make it more subordinate to civil authority. Because in recent times, the military has been abused. The military has become politicized.
But with the coming of General Muhammadu Buhari as the president-elect, do you think the military system information itself is jittery now, that there might be head my roles?
The rank and file of the military may not be jittery, but the officer corps, particularly the top echelon and the red velvet class of the military, must be jittery. They must be jittery because things have been done so awfully. And I've made this point. We talk about a future of democracy, that the military has to be subordinate to constitutional authority, to civil authority. And we then have a situation in federalism, whereby that military thinks that in a partisan manner, it should only be subordinate to a civilian president alone, while that military is deployed to harass governors, without recognizing that there is a shared authority in the federation amongst the layers of government, that they have to be subordinate all through and through to the president, to the governor, to... So, if you have that kind of military, why do you think that there won't be some anxiety now, given what they've allowed the military to be used for in the last 2 or 3 years? So, they have reason to be jittery. Not only that, even the police. I don't expect Umbu to be resting easy now. Really, you can't rest easy. Because when you are a commissioner of police of a state and you take on a governor, I'm talking about subordination of the military and to civil authority. Because they are the one we elected, not you. And you take on a governor and start insulting him. I'm a lion, you are a tiger, I will deal with you. Another. How do you think that it's going to be resting easy? In fact, if my presumption is right, he should be preparing his handover note now. It's not about victimization. It's about teaching a lesson.
It's about the reality on ground.
Yes.
Okay, just before we round up, we've talked about, economy, security, and some other sectors of the economy. What would you look at that needed the urgent attention of the economy?
Urgent attention. The president-elect, upon assumption of office, needs to take certain steps in the first 2-3 points. And Nigeria will look out for the kind of people we want to appoint directly as his own staff. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Chief of Staff, and all that. If they are the old school politicians, those who are always carpet crossing and all that, Nigeria will take notice. So his choice of staff is very important. His choice of people that will help you run his presidency is very important. His choice of people that will even be his spokesperson is very important. Okay? Nigeria will look at that. Nigeria will look at some symbolic steps that we expect him to take. For example, you become a president. A presidency that has about 11 planes. So Buhari, you have now come to power. What do you want to do about those planes? Do you want to take them over and be cruising around in those planes again? Or you want to return them to the Air Force? Or you want to create a new Nigerian Airways? And do that because Cameroon doesn't have a plane, you know. And Obama only has one. Depending on where it's going, that they label Air Force One. So what are you doing with 11 planes? So people will look at that. Who will look at who's going to be his ADC, for example. Whether it's going to come with a military man as an ADC. By the way, Section 419 of the Police Act provides that the president and the governor of the shall have a senior police officer as an ADC. So what Obasanjo did throughout those 8 years was the gross violation of the law. That's the rule of law that we're talking about. That you are a civilian president, You are not a military, although you are a military retiree. The law says that you must have a policeman as an ADC. All the governors have policemen as ADCs. So why should your own be different? So Nigeria will look at that to see whether this man is going to be a respecter of laws or is going to be a promoter of his whims and caprices. And I can give examples of what he needs to do quickly for Nigeria to see that, truly, change is there. So if he does those things, Nigeria will have any confidence.
Well, on this note, I want to say thank you for coming on Judiciary today. Thank you very much. Well, it does it on Judiciary today. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Komalape. Until I come your way, same station, same time. Bye-bye for now.